We got a couple articles that are a little bit old, but we're going back into the issue of men being, I don't know, losers. But it's not necessarily their fault, because we were talking about how society has created this weird pressure where women must and men must not.
Right.
And so we have this story. I want to read a little bit of it as a launching off point. This is called Millennial Men Need to Man Up. The attack on traditional notions of masculinity is creating a generation of insecure incompetence. And I want to stop right there and say,
brutal.
But it's not just the men. It's creating insecure, incompetent men and women.
Yeah.
And I don't know
definitely.
if it's related to relationships, but let's just grab a little bit of this, because I want to talk about that emotional intelligence stuff.
Yeah.
They say modern feminism spends a lot of time attacking toxic masculinity, and this attack, which often turns into an attack on traditional gender roles, is having serious consequences. It is leading to the churning out of insecure, non-competitive men who can't seem to manage basic life skills. It also means that trying to find an interesting person to connect with, let alone a life partner, is becoming more and more of a challenge with Generation Woke. But it's not even just men.
Yep.
They're like it's basic millennials who are children. Like this is where the title of the stream, millennials are immature, petulant children. You end up with guys who don't compete because they're told not to. They're told to sit still, shut up. And then you end up with women who are like, I don't think you can describe it as competing, but everything is a slight against them. So you've got these overly aggressive, angry women in the workplace and these timid, ineffectual men who are like, whatever you say, dear. And so, yeah. Let's read more about toxic masculinity, and then we'll go back to what real masculinity should be. And more importantly, this is going to be segueing into emotional intelligence is not being taught in schools. So basically, you have now a lot of overly aggressive, like far left, weird, fake feminist, angry, seething, you've got these Antifa types clubbing people over the head, and then you got dudes in their basement, and it is a dual problem. And so I'll mention this too, because I did a video about it before. I think Jordan Peterson, one of the reasons he's so popular is specifically because of the inverse, the lack of responsibility and lack of purpose.
Yeah.
Creates a void that people were looking for something to give them that message.
Well, he also talks about men being more masculine and being the man in. And I remember what I was talking about, or what he said the other day is about we're losing the family aspect and like how important family is, and the American family is almost not existent anymore. Now it's a bunch of single mothers with the dads ran off, and like now they're the 35-year-old searching for the 22-year-old. The 35-year-old woman is like
or dude, it's the woman left. And then
or the woman left, yeah, it's like, but the family, we're losing that, it's like everyone's doing their own thing. You get your own place, you get your own spot, you do your own thing. It's like, well, do you have your own thing built up? And it's like, well, what happened to just like being a family and working together towards something? It's like we're losing that too.
I think there's a lot of things that cause that to break up.
Yeah.
Modern economics, for instance. So I'll give you an example of how I was sort of dating somebody.
Okay.
We both worked all the time.
Yeah.
We never saw each other. Relationship over.
Yeah.
If she or I had been, like a stay-at-home figure,
right,
then there would have been a relationship. But there's an expectation that everyone has to have a job. And what the craziest thing is, there's a bunch of people on OkCupid, and I've seen these profiles. They're rare, but they say things like, society is forcing me to do this. Like, they don't say it like that.
Yeah.
But there have been a few profiles I've talked to some women who say things like, I would prefer to be a stay-at-home housewife and mother, but I can't because I guess it's not allowed anymore. And those are rare. It's really rare. But I wonder how many women feel that way and can't say anything about it because there's expectations in society.
Or how many men feel that way. And
exactly.
If they're even allowed to feel that way. Like, what if a guy feels that way? Everyone's going to be like, whoa, you want to be a stay-at-home dad and not work? Like, that goes against everything that we're taught.
So this is a really good problem with what they call feminism. You never hear, or you rarely hear, that we need rights for fathers. It's almost always about the woman getting more rights and more powers.
It's maternity leave, not paternity leave.
No. To be fair, there is a conversation having around parental leave.
Well, good.
But that is true to a certain degree. What I mean is, though, when you end up looking at like men's rights activist arguments, they talk about divorce courts favoring women.
Okay.
And they get insulted and berated for that. It never made any sense to me. I'm like, if a dude says, hey, it's not fair that, divorce court will give custody to the children to the woman 80% of the time. I'm like, that's correct. That is unfair. That shouldn't be based on your gender. That's discrimination.
Right.
And then what do? They say MRAs is like a huge negative. If you are active, like as a men's rights activist for whatever reason,
Okay.
like you're outside the mainstream. You're going to be insulted,
Yeah.
Slammed down. And so what ends up happening is we have this imbalance where, and I think this plays into millennial men's failures, demands that women be given jobs. They do big initiatives to get more women involved in more industries that women don't choose. And then as men fail and drop out of school, and now they're the minority in colleges, and now they're actually recovering in the workplace. This is going to be a big thing we're going to talk about. But when men are failing, it's just completely ignored. Meanwhile, they're talking about how we need more female CEOs. Where's the inverse? Where's the we need more females cleaning sewers and gutters?
Right.
It's always about a cushy air conditioning job. It's never about real equality.
Yeah.
There are reasons why men are more likely to work on an oil platform than a woman.
Yeah.
It is dangerous, arduous, cold, and uncomfortable.
Or the firefighter, thing you were talking about the other day. It's just like, wouldn't you rather have the big, burly guy that was here?
It's practical.
And it's because he's 6'4" and can lift you easily and carry you out of the fire.
Yeah.
Or, generally speaking, the man is going to have a stature that's going to be able to carry you,
One of the craziest things I ever read was a woman writing about how working in Antarctica is sexist.
What?
Because
Why?
men can pee outside. I'm not kidding.
That's it?
Yeah, and so she said they need to install outhouses in different areas where they're doing research because it's not fair. Men can just unzip and release.
Well,
and
they're
can't.
not peeing at the girl, are they? They're going around to probably a private spot and peeing.
But it's not sexist to not build an outhouse. It's like, there's no outhouse, dude.
Yeah, that doesn't make... So she wants the men to go pee in an outhouse? Because
No.
she would have to? Or
she was
where
upset.
does she go to the bathroom?
She can't. She has to go back to the station.
Oh, okay.
So her argument was, it's sexist because when her and the men go to do research and they have to go to the bathroom, the guy can just pee wherever he wants.
Well, actually, I know for a fact that women, there's this device that they can pee outside.
So she ended up doing that
Yeah.
and wrote about her experience in trying to learn how to use the lady funnel.
The lady funnel, yeah.
And so it's like, problem solved. Like, but
Nope, it's sexist.
But
it is sexist because they have units that they can use.
She wasn't targeting
I'm
the
not
individual
sure what
men,
we can
though.
say on here, so.
But she wasn't targeting the individual men. She was talking about patriarchy. And she was like, the system is built for men because if women built it, there would be outhouses. And my argument is no.
But
because
where are they doing studies? Like, wouldn't they be changing their spot where they're studying different environments, different ice
Gotta bring a porta potty.
different,
got to bring that porta potty.
and set up an outhouse everywhere they go?
That's the thing. You're on the frontier.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so
you're out in no man's land. It's
well, I mean, I guess a bunch of countries are claiming Antarctica in various portions. But,
yeah.
But still, it's like, dude, if you want to go trekking about in the wilderness, you can't blame patriarchy for the fact that dudes got wangs and they can aim.
Yeah,
But that's what
write their names.
But so take that insane mentality and now apply it to how they're attacking men for toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And men are retreating because I see society as a whole has...
Well, you can't argue it. You can't... There's nothing a man can say because it's just more toxic masculinity.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Mansplain.
It's like, you're going to say anything right now? More toxic masculinity. Boom. You're even worse now because you're even trying to defend because I'm right.
They call it
done, period.
They call it the pendulum swing.
Okay.
That... I was talking to these activists and they say, for the longest time, men were in control and it's our turn now.
See, that doesn't make sense. That's not feminism.
I mean, it is.
Well, it's the new feminism. It's
right.
the new age feminism.
So here's the funny thing, though. I guarantee you already, there's probably a bunch of feminists who hate watch my content.
Yeah.
And they're writing all these things down like Tim's an incel, blah, 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 blah. I never said men don't have privileges and men don't have special access and things that make them, better suited for certain things,
right.
or that men are benefiting in many ways. I'm specifically talking about how if you really believe in equality, then you have to take the good with the bad.
Right.
And it was really, really funny. I don't know if you saw this when the Senate was proposing bringing women into the combat draft. And then all of a sudden Twitter lit up and I swear I thought it was a parody. Like there were feminists saying, I never meant this. No way. Stop. Take it back. I take it back.
Really?
Oh, you don't want to go to the Middle East and die?
Oh,
Yeah.
leave that to the men, huh?
Combat deaths are like, what, 98% male?
Really?
Yeah. Nobody's talking about closing that gap. That would be insane. Or how about suicides? 5 times more men, end up committing suicide. No one's talking about closing that gap. How about homelessness? No one's talking about closing that gap, right? So if you want to talk about patriarchy, I think the problem is they don't understand that there's like there's a bell curve to talent and idiocy. There are more male geniuses and more male morons.
Okay.
And more women in the middle. So I think that makes sense then. Because if you have 100 men and 100 women, the average women are going to see a lot more really dumb dudes getting in their way.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're going to get mad at the top tier men because there's too many. But that's just how humans have split up, right?
Right.
So now we're seeing this weird cut off the tall grass, and it results in men not going to college. They're the minority now. And it resulted in this really terrifying phenomenon. Let me pull up this article, get to the crux of this segment, even though we're already really, really far in. Millennial men leave perplexing hole in hot U.S. job market. The economy has been booming. And this article from November 2nd, 2018 was freaky. Men from ages 25 to 34 are less likely to work than before. 500,000 young men are missing, and it isn't clear why. Now I'm going to tell you why people are going to vote for Donald Trump in 2020. And I hate to bring up politics because we're talking cultural issues, but take a look at this article now. Men aged 25 to 34 now working at the highest rate since the recession. So that's in 11 years. And that was only about 6 months later.
Oh, wow.
6 months later, there was a major recovery where the men were missing, and all of a sudden their jobs started coming in. They started working again. So I'll tell you what, whatever's happening right now in culture, I can tell you there's a lot of dudes who are really, really happy about it.
So you're saying that's Trump that did that?
Well, I'm being a bit hyperbolic.
You said that's why people he's going to win.
I'm not saying no. I'm saying I'm definitely being a bit hyperbolic and like Trump came and pulled all these guys out of the gutter.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying the economy is doing really, really well. Look at this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Pull it up so they see it.
Yeah, young men are working. So I think, interestingly, there could still be men missing from this number.
True.
Because they're not necessarily 1-for-1 correlations.
Right.
But I think it doesn't matter if Trump made it happen or if he contributed to it at all. It matters that it happened under his watch. And there's going to be a bunch of young guys. So I want to get away from talking about Trump. I really do not want to talk about
I do too.
I want to
talk about this article.
Let's talk, real quick.
Let's
talk about Jordan Peterson.
All right.
And we'll segue into this emotional intelligence thing. He's telling people to be responsible. Mm-hmm. He's become wildly popular. I mean, look, my heart goes out to his family.
And wildly hated too at the same time.
Yeah, by these weirdos.
Yeah.
One of the craziest things is, and this is coming from somebody who's never been conservative. Tucker Carlson has the #1 news show in the country, basically.
Okay.
And the media acts like he's a fringe character. It's like, dude, his show's bigger than yours.
Yeah.
By like 3 million people.
Yeah.
Daily Wire is the biggest news outlet on Facebook, or one of the most shared and most engaged with.
Yeah.
And you're acting like what they're saying is fringe. Dude, it's like they live in this weird world and they're freaking out. What we're seeing now with the intellectual dark web, with Peterson and people like him, is a recovery in the people on at least whatever this space is, because it's not right wing, but it was people who didn't have emotional intelligence. And now that whatever that is, because I don't want to say the left, but kind of, they certainly do not have emotional intelligence, and they're resisting and shrieking because they don't.
And it also feels like people are kind of, both women and men are kind of becoming aware of this like craziness that is going on. That people are like, this is not actual reality. This is wrong. Yeah. Let's get back to regular life almost. Let's what is reality? Let's go there. Because let's take a look.
So interestingly enough, this article comes from Lifehacker, which is, I think, part of the. Is this part of? Oh, okay. I don't know who owns Lifehacker anymore, but I'm pretty sure it used to be one of these weird lefty outlets. So they say, what is emotional intelligence? Measuring emotional intelligence is relatively new in the field of psychology, only first being explored in the mid-1980s. Several models are currently being developed, but for our purpose, we'll examine what's known as the mixed model, developed by Daniel Goleman. He first came across the term emotional intelligence in 1990 when he was a science reporter for the New York Times, and by chance, came across an article in a small academic journal by two psychologists, John Mayer and Peter Salovey, which offered the first concept of emotional intelligence. 15 years later, Goldman wrote an article for the same newspaper outlining the 5 key areas of the mixed mode of emotional intelligence.
See, I love this so much. Like, this needs to be taught in schools. Like, this, I learned this later on in life, like into my 30s. I started like really questioning myself, questioning my motives, questioning what I'm doing, understanding myself really. And I wish I'd learned that 20 years prior, that's what this is all about.
Let's read these
these
points.
Yeah, that's great.
Self-awareness, knowing your own feelings, management, being able to keep your emotions in check, motivation, obviously, however you motivate yourself, satisfaction and curiosity, joy of being productive, empathy. They say, while the 3 previous categories refer to a person's internal emotions, this one deals with the emotions of others.
This is huge.
Empathy is the skill and practice of reading the emotions of others and responding appropriately. Mm-hmm. Social skills. This category involves the application of empathy as well as negotiating the needs of others with your own. It can include finding common ground with others, managing others in a work environment, and being persuasive.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you straight up.
Yeah, this is huge.
The authoritarians in today's politics lack all of these.
Agreed.
The libertarians have all of these. So I think,
okay,
absolutely. Empathy, I believe, people with extreme empathy for others become super libertarian.
Okay.
Because you don't want other people to feel the way, like feel bad, the way you understand that feeling.
You understand where they're at and you go, I don't want you to feel like that. How can we fix it? Yeah.
Exactly. I wouldn't want someone, I wouldn't want someone to come and tell me that my constitutional rights are being curtailed. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to go and say the same thing to you because I don't want you to feel that way too.
Right.
But self-awareness, look, man, there's a bunch of crazy lunatics wearing all black, running around bashing skulls. They have no idea what they look like. They are completely not self-aware.
Right.
They can't keep their emotions in check. You see this video where there's a bunch of young college conservatives. They're doing like flyering, and a guy walks up and starts screaming at the top of his lungs, "Slit their throats!" Like,
no, I don't know this video.
These people have never been taught anything in philosophy or like mental management.
Yeah.
So they're not motivated. They have no purpose. They have no self-awareness. They have no empathy. They don't care how you feel or what you think.
Exactly.
And they absolutely have no social skills.
And the internet just made that exponentially worse.
No, these people probably aren't on the internet.
Well, no, the people that are self-aware and all that have emotional intelligence are probably not on the internet as much. They don't need that. They don't need to get their kicks from online.
I don't think internet plays as big a role. Actually,
you don't think so?
I think if you're online, you're probably being exposed to more information.
Okay.
And I think it may be why online is dominated by the right. I'm doing air quotes because a lot of these people they call right wing are not.
Well, I was saying you mentioned like these people wearing all black that aren't aware,
they're not on the internet.
They were to group up. They were to get spun into the frenzy that and then they go off to
go nuts,
burn buildings
because they're not. So this is interesting. I think if you have some self-awareness and empathy, you're probably sitting back questioning why you're not succeeding.
Yeah.
You then stumble across a book called 12 Rules for Life.
Right.
You see this guy who's like, pick up, find the heaviest thing you can and carry it.
Yeah.
And you're aware enough.
And clean your room.
And clean your room, bucko. But you listen. And Peterson's not perfect by no stretch of the imagination.
Right.
But that resonates with people who are aware.
Yeah.
Now, what if you're not aware?
Yeah,
what if you're not
people
motivated?
Who want to know, they want to further themselves, right?
If you have no self-awareness, no empathy or motivation or social skills, you're sitting there and then someone comes along and says, "Oh, Peterson, yeah, he's far right." And they go, "You got it. I'll just say whatever you told me to say."
Right.
And they go march off like zombie sheep.
Just believe whatever they're told.
So it was interesting that you brought this article up because I feel like it's a really good example of a lot of the problems in our political landscape. Everyone's been trying to figure out, is it left versus right? Some have said authoritarian versus libertarian, nationalist versus globalist. None of these things really make sense, but I think we can see here.
It's the emotionally intelligent versus the non-emotionally intelligent.
The people with some semblance of self-awareness in what they are and what they think and what they feel.
And what others feel also. And
you know what the funny thing is? This has always been mind-blowing to me that they claim the exact same thing, but it's just not true.
Right.
It's not. Because when you look at...
Well, because it's me. I'm right, though. I'm right.
But I can tell you why...
If you're not part of this, those people all think they're right all the time.
And so do we, though.
True.
But guess what? So does Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle thinks we're right in terms of like, we
Being
can make
self-aware.
offensive jokes.
Yeah.
We can be humorous. And all these comedians in mainstream pop culture is being dominated by this fringe wacko nonsense that is not popular.
Okay.
Because regular people reject this weirdo nonsense.
Yeah, I
now
agree.
they claim we're the ones with real empathy. That's why we want to ban speech. And it's like, no, you're not. Because if you understood what that meant, you would know that there are a lot of people who will be hurt by this.
Mm-hmm.
You don't care because you can't think about what they feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
this needs to be taught in schools. This needs to be a school subject. And it's not, nutrition, learning what the human body needs to eat and to survive, and like mental awareness.
Stoicism,
Yeah.
pragmatism.
Yeah, these things need to be, and taxes.
Yeah. Finance.
Finances, like that should be math class. Like, we don't need to learn calculus. We need to learn taxes. We need to learn about saving money and being able to thrive in the world that we have currently. Like this, I know I'm kind of like getting into education a little bit, but the American education
we
system
definitely need to do a segment on that. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show every Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., sometimes an hour or two. And we do have a full live recorded version of the show that includes a lot of comments and smaller segments you probably don't see. If you want to check that out, you can watch live at 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, or become a member of this channel. And for $5 a month, you get full access to all of the recorded podcasts. Every day after the show, we make them available in the community section of this YouTube channel. So don't forget to subscribe and stick around for more segments and more shows Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all in the next show.